Hi, Ben Lindquist here with a graph of world oil consumption. We have time along this axis, countries along this axis. The U.S. sticks out, former Soviet Union, Russian Federation. We have Japan here, Germany, France, Canada, China. If we look across the countries, we see an interesting thing. There's a ramp up of Japan, Germany, France, US in terms of consumption. A peak, they all trough together, they peak together, they trough together again, but then they start to diverge in the 90s. The US has a little economic slump, which the others don't seem to experience as much. Then the US ramps up consumption while Japan, France, Germany, and Canada slowly tail off their oil consumption. Let's add some more data to this picture. When I choose Add Layer, the Glasshouse gateway gives me a representation of the databases it has access to. I'm going to select this demo database. Now I have a representation of all of the tables within that database. Each row here is a table, and you can see all the columns in it. Like this table, for example, import stage, has a whole lot of columns. I happen to have some UN population data loaded into this database, so I'm going to grab that. Alright, country, x-axis, and year, z-axis, population in thousands as my measure. Glasshouse is now doing a SQL query that uses the columns that I selected. We've now got population data correlated with the oil consumption data below. And we can see China here, India, you can see the US, Russian Federation. The population data is sparse, but it's been positioned to match the oil consumption data. And we can explore them with this same auto highlight feature. We can see that the US oil consumption versus population is completely out of whack with China's, and in particular with India's. Let's add another layer to this. Somewhere in here I have a table of Kyoto Protocol greenhouse gas reporting. And there it is. So let's do country as our X again. And I have to get in closer. Year as our Z, and we'll do GHG. This is in tons, CO2 equivalent. Could be kilotons. Doesn't really matter, it's all normalized. And there we have some greenhouse gas data. So let's see how that tends to correlate. And it looks like it correlates pretty well with the oil consumption. If we highlight Russian Federation, turn that highlight on, you can see that same economic event reflected in the oil data is apparent in the greenhouse gas emission data. I don't believe China reports its emissions. You can also see that the U.S. emissions roughly mirror our oil consumption. However, oh yeah, they mirror quite closely. Well, that's all for now. Thanks for your time.